Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I am back. Football is back after what seems like an absolute age with the international break. And I'm here with Mike from Blue Boys Network for In the Away End, episode 3. I know it should be episode 4, but we missed the Leicester game, our opposition preview. And yeah, I couldn't think of anyone better to get back on the show than our boy Mike. How are you doing, mate?
Probably not as well as you, mate. Let's be real. But yeah, mate. Apart from that, family's good, life's good, standard stuff. But when it comes to football, mate, boy, Jesus wept.
Well, we're going to get into it as we just said before the show. I'll let you get it all off your chest. But big game coming up on Saturday as well, and we've got lots to talk about with players that have played on both sides and a couple of players who've made big impacts at their respective new clubs. Before we get into it though, make sure you smash the like button, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 5,000 subscribers. You can help us get there. Like, subscribe, and get your comments in, your thoughts on Saturday's big game. So, as we said, before we get into the kind of the players and the upcoming game, we spoke just before we came on the show about what a whirlwind it's been since the last time you were on the show, where we were talking about the transfers that had been done between the two clubs. And you were pretty optimistic about the start to the season and what was to come. And yeah, mate, just talk us through what's happening at Everton at the minute.
Yeah, it's been rough, mate. If I'm being honest, I mean, any team that concedes 10 goals in 3 games start of the season, it's never great. And yeah, I was more confident because, it looked like there was a takeover in the background. It looked like Everton was going forward. It looked like there was going to be less pressure in terms of the financial restraints regarding this summer. We'd just gone through this big points deduction and come out the other end, etc., etc. And, on the whole, we were relatively happy with where we finished last season. Take out the points deduction, Everton finished 12th, joint. I think it was joint 11th with Brighton. So, as an Everton fan, you take that where we are right now. But we've come into this season, and although we appeared to have a good transfer window, or at least there were signings that looked like they could be impactful, we've, from a footballing perspective, gone backwards. And, we can all praise the performance that we might have put in at home to Bournemouth. We looked a very good performance.
Yeah.
But it lasted 85 minutes and the game went to 96 minutes. So, fundamentally, Everton are right bottom of the league, 10 goals conceded, only 2 scored. It's not as positive as a lot of Everton fans would have liked. And, some Everton fans are obviously concerned we might actually be in trouble because the standard of the Premier League is I would argue, better than last season. So yeah, mate, not good.
Yeah.
Not as optimistic as I was, my friend.
Yeah, and we will come to one big positive with regards to an ex-Villa player in Tim Iroegbunam shortly, but with regards to that that Bournemouth game, and that can happen to teams 2-0 up, cruising, and then all of a sudden the kind of wheels come off. That does seem a bit ominous. And is that on Dyche? Is that on the players? Is that like preparation in like fitness wise? What would you put it down to?
Well, to be honest, I think you nailed it. I think it's a little bit of all 3, to be fair. You've got 11 professional footballers on that football pitch that need to see a game of football out at 2-0. Even when it gets to 2-1, the Everton are trying to attack rather than just put the ball in the corner and just see the game out. It's the 91st minute. Just see the game out. Go and stick it in a corner. Put your biggest man on it, and that's that. But we didn't do that. It's on the manager as well, because the substitutions that he didn't make, we adding a bit more energy. We had another centre half on the bench. We conceded 3 goals from 3 crosses into our box, and there was a 6'6" centre half on the bench, fit as a fiddle, ready to go, who literally was playing European football or at least qualifying for European football with Lyon last season, who we spent 20 million quid on. So I didn't understand not bringing him on. We've got another engine room in midfield for James Garner. We'll talk about him in a minute, but Tim was absolutely blowing out of his backside, and there would have been no issues bringing James Garner on for the last 15 minutes and seeing the game out, a bit more energy in midfield. But he didn't do it. He actually made 2 attacking substitutions and it was absolutely ludicrous to do that. And then you talk about pre-season, and our pre-season was pretty rough. We lost to teams like Salford. We drew away at Sligo. We lost to Coventry. I mean, you're talking, and these results, by the way, these were strong Everton teams that were put out. It's not like we just turned up with our under 23s and we let the first team sit out. We put decent teams together, and yeah, it's just not been as glowing as we were expecting. And yeah, I think that's the reason why Bournemouth went there. They've got a manager that's proactive. 5 substitutions. You wanted to change the game. He goes and wins the game. I mean, you can't fault Areola for that. And that game was dead and buried. Everton were outstanding, but as I say, you've got to be outstanding for that. 96 minutes, exactly. Not 85, mate. Yeah.
And I guess in some ways, you can say you want another game after it immediately to try and put right the wrongs, or you can say an international break coming can maybe batten down the hatches, get players back fit, get them on the training pitch. What are you kind of hoping that you see from Everton? Maybe not even this Saturday, but over the next few games, what are you hoping to see change, I guess, from the team and from Dyche?
Well, firstly, you just mentioned it. There's been a week's break. Everton have had ample time. Players have gone out for rests, and there would have been some players that stay behind and do extra training. But the fundamentals are we've had to stew on this result for two weeks, and the game that we're going into is against a Villa team that, certainly for the last 2 or 3 years, I've been raving about even under Dean Smith, the substitution, the signings you were making were quality players. And then Gerrard seemed to mess it up a little bit. And then Emery comes in, who's that touch of class. And, you're competing in Champions League football, all of which, by the way, I predicted. So, I mean, I sit there as someone that could see where Villa were going. And then I see Everton do that against Bournemouth, knowing that we're going up against a team that dicked us 4-0 last season. Yeah, I've got real concerns about this game. And what we need to improve is to stop being so easy to beat, not stop being so easy to score against. Because fundamentally, conceding goals obviously costs you points. And when you don't score lots of goals anyway, you're never going to be in a game of football. We were in the Brighton game at 0-0. And as soon as they score, we're done. Spurs the same. And as soon as Bournemouth went 2-1, even our own manager come out and went, you could smell it in the air. I mean, this Everton team will roll over and have its belly tickles. We'll go to Villa and we will probably put up a dogged performance for 10 to 15 minutes. But as soon as you score, that's it. The floodgates have gone. The game plan's gone. And yeah, I have major concerns about not just this game, but I actually have major concerns about the season, because unless you change that mentality in this group of players, then this is going to be a very, very long season for Everton Football Club.
Yeah. Well, look, let me try and brighten up your evening. Let me try and brighten up your outlook, because as I mentioned, a real bright spark and come into the side. And I thought should have been given more opportunity. At Aston Villa, I thought excellent player. And he's really settled into life at Everton and given you a real impetus, and that's Tim Iroegbunam. And I know you did say he tired towards the end of that game, but I think every single pundit, every single fan, every single supporter has been absolutely raving about him since signing for Everton. He's done interviews in the press about his impact that he's had. And that's certainly not his fault in terms of that game, because he put everything into it. And I think he was absolutely phenomenal from all reports. And yeah, just talk a bit about how he's done and what you've been impressed by the most.
This is going to sound weird because you guys are obviously really happy with Onana, so this is not a gripe at Onana at all. But he's an upgrade in Onana in the areas that we needed. So we needed a player that can tackle but carry the ball 20 yards with a touch of skill and a bit of pace. Now, I know Onana had that in the locker. but we didn't see it at Everton. Whether that was a Sean Dyche problem, whether that was an Onana problem, we didn't see it. But we're seeing this with Tim. We're seeing a young, confident player be prepared to get on the ball, drive forward, beat a man, use his strength, pop a shot off. It was rare that we'd see that from Onana. So, from an Everton perspective, we're absolutely buzzing that we've got a midfielder who can do the box to box, not just the defensive work. He has been exceptional. I mean, there's no getting around it. He has been a complete breath of fresh air. The only concern I have is, we only signed him on a 3-year deal, and I don't understand why we did that. I don't understand why it was 3 years and not, 5 or 6. Like the normal length of a young player's contract, because all the Villa fans that I spoke to simply said he would get more minutes if it wasn't for the fact we've got Kamara, McGinn, Douglas Luiz, Tillemans. Everyone was saying he's almost like our 5th choice centre midfielder, but he's great. Mate, he's our best midfielder by an absolute country mile. And that also shows the disparity between the two clubs, if I'm being, totally honest. But yeah, Tim he's been exceptional. He really has. And I'm thrilled for him because, like you mentioned earlier, he's a young kid. He'll talk to the media. He'll speak well. He comes across great, if I'm being honest. And I think he's got an incredibly bright future, if I'm being honest. I think he's a great footballer.
Yeah. I mean, we're seeing that with a lot of players of that ilk, taking their chance and grabbing it with both hands. I mean, Villa have got the same with Morgan Rogers. I don't know how much you've seen of him, but I mean, he's absolutely taken the Premier League by storm since he's come in to the team regularly. And if you catch that under-21s game the other night, I mean, he was just a different level on the pitch from any player on any team. So he's been fantastic. We've obviously got John Duran, 21 years of age. Onana himself is only 23. We're seeing these kind of young players coming through, and just whether it's a Premier League thing that's maybe changing in terms of the profile of player that's needed to kind of give the energy that's required. I'm not sure, but it is good to see. But all these young players, 20 to 23, really showing what they can do.
It's where it's at, isn't it? It's where it's at. I mean, I was talking about my preview earlier, and you look at John Duran, you look at where he come from. How many scouts are watching all of their games every week, yet you sign him. There's interest at £40 million, and you're saying you don't want to lose him. And then this season, let's be honest, he's shown why you don't want to lose him. Yeah. You've already got Ollie Watkins, who, again, by the way, was a championship player who you took that punt on from Brentford. Morgan Rogers, I think it was Middlesbrough, if I'm not mistaken, and I think it was like 12 million quid. But what a signing he's turned into. Villa have got this almost natural ability. Funnily, probably like we did in like the mid-2000s under Moyes, of cfinding these gems, the Tim Cahills, the Artetas, the Pinars, for example. In terms of money spending, not as big as the the phenomenal players, the Diabys, for example, that you spent a lot of money on, or even the Onanas. But you're finding these gems and you're integrating into the team along with the younger players that you're developing. The Jacob Ramseys of this world. It must be quite an exciting time to be a Villa fan, seeing all of the energy around the place and just chipping in with these younger players. But Morgan Rogers, he is a baller, mate. He is a baller. He's got everything. He reminds me of what Ross Barkley was when he was 16 years old. Somebody that could get the ball on the turn, bulldoze through 2 or 3 players, bit of skill, quality, and a finish. That was what Ross Barkley was at Everton in his prime, and that's what I would argue Morgan Rogers is or certainly going that way to be a consistent in that Villa team. Really, really, really exciting player, and while he's playing and scoring, it's difficult for the rest of the the big names you've got to get in the team.
Well, yeah, I mean, we've had a lot of debates about, the likes of John McGinn, Jacob Ramsey as well, another young player. When Kamara comes back, he's back in training now. What does he do with that midfield? Obviously, Ross Barkley's kind of in the squad, and he's come on and he played really well and off the bench against Leicester. Obviously we've got lots of games, Champions League and everything like that, but every player wants to play, and you know what it's like, Mike. Yeah, Emery's got what he wants. In that midfield area, he's got what he wants, and he's certainly got an embarrassment of riches there. Definitely, definitely. Just in terms of the game coming up on Saturday, what's the Everton squad looking like? Have you got players to come back? Branthwaite hasn't featured yet, has he? This season, is he any closer to coming back? What's the situation like?
So he'll miss the game. He's back on the grass training with the first team, but he's nowhere near match fitness. He had to have a small operation.
Right.
In terms of right backs, yeah, we still haven't got one. So we've got three right backs, but they're like 80 million years old. Ashley Young, Seamus Coleman, and we've got Nathan Patterson, who's consistently injured. We've got a young lad called Dixon who. I don't know if I would want to throw him in based on the players that he could be playing up against on your left hand side. So that concerns me a little bit. We could put James Garner there, but I think that's an area that Everton can be got at. In terms of the squad, though, yeah, there's not going to be many changes from the Bournemouth game. It's just going to be that right back position. I suspect he'll probably start the same team that started that game, which means Lilliman and Dye and Calvert-Lewin will be probably your two biggest goal threats for Everton. And if you nullify them, then you'll get 3 points. I mean, you're definitely going to score. It's just how many.
I'll trouble you for your score predictions soon, Mike, but I think I've got an indication of what it might be. And I talk a bit about him because he's not been too bad. He's shown some real flashes of skill and looks like he's quite bright.
Yeah, mate, he's a sensational footballer. If we're being honest, he has got the ability to stop and start on a sixpence. He literally can go left and right. He's got skill. He's got pace, as in just natural ability to run with the ball quickly. But the other thing that he's got is that snapshot. So he'll get a shot off, and it'll mean that the defender or goalkeeper's just got to be quick to react. Which also means at times you can leave a gap for the centre forward, or you can leave a gap for somebody else to pounce on it. Yeah, he's the player that could cause you problems. And I know you've spoken about Everton, and obviously I do a little bit of research about Villa, but I think your right hand side could be a bit of a weaker area for you. I don't quite know what's going on with your right backs at the minute. I think, is it Leon Bailey's out or
Yeah, there was something on X today about a prognosis of he's got a hamstring injury that if it's a grade 4 could mean he's out for up to 10 weeks, but they didn't say what grade
yeah.
it was. But I would imagine by looking into that, he's not going to be fit for Saturday. Now,
Yeah. We would expect so.
yeah, even if it's a grade 1 or whatever, he ain't going to be fit because there's been no training pictures of him or anything like that. So if hopefully Jaden Philogene is somewhere near fit, but he might even play. He might even. It would be a case of maybe Tielemans and Onana. Pretty much, that's the concrete sort of centre midfield, and then you've probably got Ramsey, Rogers, and McGinn to kind of rotate behind Watkins. That would probably be, and if Philogene's fit, he might come on. He might be fit enough for the bench. But you are right in what you're saying about kind of the right side of defence. We had Lamar Bogard, who played the game against Leicester, who did pretty well for his first start in the Premier League, and I think Villa fans were very surprised that he started. I think Matty Cash will still be injured, but that they've got a young lad called Kostin Nedeljkovic who's come in and done well, and he played for his country and did fantastically well, apparently. So he could play, and he's very, very quick, very fast, but physically maybe could get a little bit out strength. Maybe, Calvert-Lewin might target in between that kind of centre back and right back area. So that would be an area like you bang on in what you're saying, to be honest, that kind of right hand side. And then hopefully Ezri Konsa, he came off injured against Finland the other night for England. I think it's just an impact thing. So hopefully he'll be okay. But if he's out, then that would mean that would be a little bit of a concern at centre back in what we do there.
Yeah,
But
because if it's Diego Carlos, I think he's the player that Everton, that Calvert Lewin would probably sit on, if you get what I mean. He's the one that he sort of come in with this big hype and maybe hasn't quite hit the
yeah,
he's
yeah,
certainly not the
you're
Pau
right.
Torres, is he? He's
No.
not sort of that. So I think that's the area that Everton will target. So yeah, look, it wouldn't surprise me if you see either Lilliman and Dwight McNeil will almost double up on that left hand side, and Calvert Lewin make darting runs into the box, and that'll be probably Everton's game plan. So just get that shot over to Emery, and he can just double up on that side as well. Just get yourself another centre midfielder who'll cover the right hand side, and you're sorted, mate.
Yeah, I mean, would you say in terms of tactically with Dyche? I mean, again, I'm not being facetious, but how Dyche, we know what his
Inept. Let
football's
me answer
like,
that for you.
but
I'll answer that. He's inept. He's inept, and tactically, we'll go into this game with probably no strategy. It will be do not concede as quickly or as many goals as you have done in the last few games. But there is an argument that we're going up against, in my opinion, the best team out of the four that we've played. Villa are the best team that we've played so far this season. So, if you're conceding 3 at home to Brighton, you're conceding 4 away at Spurs. How many are we going to concede away to Villa?
I mean, look, for any you have to go into the game with, as I said before, you've had a difficult defeat, albeit played well for 85 minutes. He'll be looking to take that into this game after an international break, and you just never know what teams are like after back after an international break. And you do know, what I was going to say is it going to be as simple as, and you've kind of said it there, don't concede early, and because Villa, I imagine, will have a lot of the ball, so keep organised and then utilise, go direct to Undai or Calvert Lewin and try and get something off the back of that. Try and frustrate, get something off the back of that. Try and get a set piece. Is it going to be as kind of as simple as that, if you like? Even though that can be an effective tactic.
Um, so I think that is the way that it'll go, but it's actually not the best way of playing Everton players. And I know that sounds weird. I am clearly not a football manager, and but our strength is our ball carriers. So why miss them out by just going long? And that's the bit that I don't quite understand. We can pass the ball. I know it sounds silly, but we can actually pass the ball quickly when we are passing the ball. Kicking the ball long and hoping it sticks to Calvert Lewin is always going to be a challenge when you're going up against a quality side like Villa. So for me, as much as you will have the ball and Everton will probably play counter attack, keep it on the deck, get it into the feet of, funny enough, Tim, in the feet of Lilliman and Dye, and allow them to carry. Get Calvert Lewin into as much space in between the channels as possible and aim for those areas, because those are the areas where, certainly in between your centre half and your right back, you are going to have a gap, because it's not been fixed all season, if you get what I mean. It's not like this seat, the whoever plays there may not potentially have played together in a Premier League game before, because of the way that your injuries have happened in your squad. Now, I don't know, but for me, if there's any area of weakness, you just aim for it. It's like when you go boxing, you punch someone in the face until you see a mark, and then you keep punching that mark, because that's how you're going to inflict the most damage. Everton, in my opinion, have got to keep the ball on the deck and try and use the counter-attacking pace. I know Villa have got pace. They've got players that can win the ball. But you've also got strength. You've also got height. You've also got players that will do that if it goes in the air. So for me, use our best attributes rather than just pumping it long and hoping for the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Just before I do get score prediction and we finish up for the show, you mentioned about Iroegbunam, and he's been great for Everton, and And it's weird, isn't it? Because Villa fans will say the impact that Amadou Onana has had on us has been absolutely phenomenal. And it's funny, isn't it? Because it kind of feels like, albeit very early days for both players, but kind of the right timing and the right player in the right club. And we've been crying out for a physical presence and a bit of a, I don't know what you would, someone who the Villa fans can kind of really get behind
Yeah,
and embrace. And you guys have been looking for that midfielder in terms of that profile that Tim's got, that you've kind of said. I mean, in terms of the impact that Amadou Onana's had, I don't know how much you've watched of it, but
yeah, of course.
what have you thought about it?
Well, 2 goals in 3 games always helps.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah, he got two last season in the whole season or something for
that's what I
Everton,
mean.
wasn't
Yeah,
it? Yeah,
he also missed a penalty in our quarter final in the Carabao Cup. We'd, not bringing it up, but we'd gone to your place and managed to beat you.
yes,
Partly
yes,
because Robin Olsen was in goal. I mean,
yeah,
but we went to your place and beat you, and then we've got Fulham at home. We make it really difficult. It goes to penalties. We've got the winning penalty, and Amadou Onana hits, in my opinion, the worst penalty I've seen. And if you haven't seen it, guys, make sure just go and watch it. It's all over Twitter. Onana penalty Fulham, you'll find it. It's shocking. Um, but he was a player that would flatter to deceive at Everton, and that's not a dig at Onana, because I always thought there was a player there. I was not one of the Everton fans that just wrote him off, because there was lots of them. There was lots of people that used to go that, he's a hype player. He would walk up to the fans after the game and he'd raise his arms, he'd fist pump, and he'd do all sorts of stuff like that. But when the performances weren't there on the pitch, we're not interested in seeing that. As
yeah,
normal fans, we just want to
yeah,
see, almost blood, sweat, and tears on the shirt every game. And we didn't see that with Onana. We would see Onana go missing. We would see Onana. He's such a big physical specimen and such a talented footballer, but he wouldn't want the ball. He wouldn't turn and go. He would play like a crab. And at Aston Villa, he's got a better set of players around him. He's allowed to be more free under Emery's system. And you're seeing now the qualities that Amadou does have. The physicality, the winning headers, the passing ability. I have noticed there's not a great trait that he's got, which he has done at Villa a few times, which is going for the Hollywood ball, which,
yeah,
he'll go for this ball, which will end up going out of touch. It'll go out of play. It'll go for a goal kick when it's easier to make the 10-yard pass to the left.
yeah. Emery will
But
soon
yeah,
highlight that. And the yellow cards, I think a couple of people mentioned. I
yeah,
think he's got 2 or 3 yellow cards already.
yeah. He loves one of these lunging slide tackles from slightly behind. Um, and in that sense, it's almost a red card waiting to happen. But
Yeah.
but he tends to time them well. You can't really fault the way that he plays. But look, for me, he left Everton with respect. No issues against Onana, but it absolutely was the right time. And people were talking about 50 million being low. Some people were saying it was high. I thought it was maybe a touch high for Onana, if I'm being honest. But you know, the mess that Everton were in, we're never going to complain at that. And I actually think Villa fans would probably say that 50 million is justified, and that is fine. Um, I wish the best on Onana, because I truly believe there is a player in there, but he was at Everton at essentially the wrong time. We were the wrong club for him. But I'll always be grateful to anyone that doesn't mug the club off, because he
Yeah,
didn't. He never threw his toys out the pram. He never criticised anything. He just went about his business, whether it was good or bad or performances, whatever. He never said, I can't play for this team, or I can't make to move, or I whatever. It was always, I'm an Everton player until I'm not an Everton player, and I respect him for that.
fair play. So important game on Saturday for various reasons. Obviously, you guys need to get that win to get back, or get points on the board. Villa, seventh in the table, wanting to kind of keep it in touch with the top of the pack in terms of the Premier League. So, thoughts on Saturday's score and predictions for score and scorers, mate?
It's really tough, this, because my heart my heart says, yeah, Everton could get something. It's one of those games that Everton
Yeah,
just
yeah.
weirdly get something. But my head is telling me that we're going to get thrashed 3-0. And if I'm being honest, I think I'd go with my head over my heart most days because, well, it's the one that I think speaks the most sense. I think Aston Villa have got too much quality. I think we'll concede both strikers. I know you'll probably play Watkins for some of the game, and Duran will come on with 20, 30 minutes to go. I think they both score. And I think one of your wingers, it doesn't matter who it is, but they'll pull in off one of the sides. They'll pull our centre half out and they'll score. So yeah, I'm going 3-0 Villa, to be honest.
I was going to give you a goal. To be fair, I don't think Villa are particularly great at keeping clean sheets, so I think 3-1 will be the score. And I don't think you're wrong in terms of scorers. I think Watkins, if he's fit and he starts, I think he'll get back on the score sheet, get his confidence back, and I think maybe McGinn, maybe Rogers for a goal as well. And yeah, I think it'll be a 3-1, but I don't think it'll be easy. And I think Iroegbunam will be wanting to prove a point. There'll be one or two danger moments as well for Villa, particularly coming off the back of international break. You don't quite know what's gonna what shape players are in and what's going to happen. But I do think Villa will have a bit too much. I agree with you, mate.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different people who talk about stats and things, and I was just double checking a couple of things before I commented. But Everton, it's funny actually, but apart from the Carabao Cup, Everton have literally scored one goal in their last 7 appearances against Villa, and we've lost every game. I think it's actually in the Premier League, it's 10 games since we've beaten Villa, and I think that was 2016, which I don't know if that was the year you went down, but
It
it
was,
was
yeah.
2016. So we no disrespect to Villa, we know how bad you were that year. We are. It's mad to think that 2016 is the year that Farhad Moshiri bought Everton Football Club and promised grandeurs. And in that time, Aston Villa, I think, have been purchased twice, been relegated, and also qualified for the Champions League. So, I mean, it speaks volumes about where football clubs have been mismanaged and whatever. But Villa is obviously a club close to my heart. I'm obviously a Birmingham boy. I was tagged into another Villa channel earlier who was looking for an Everton guest, and there was a few comments saying, "Ask Mike why he's
Yeah,
an
yeah,
Everton
yeah,
fan, not a
yeah.
Brummer,
Well,
not
you
a Villa
mentioned
fan."
that on the last time you were on, so
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's literally just a case of my dad's a Scouser, and you support who you follow. But a
absolutely.
lot of time for Villa. I've been in the Hull Tens. I've been in the Doug Ellis. I've been to Villa numerous times. If ever you see me around the place, I'm not one of them idiot fans. I have sat in the home ends for Everton against Villa in the past because couldn't get an away ticket. I've got nothing but respect for Villa, but I just think you're too good for us right now. Hopefully we'll give you a better game at Goodison, but I'm certainly not confident at all. And while Sean Dyche is managing my football club, I think we're actually destined for relegation, mate.
Well, look, mate, I do wish you all the best for the season. And if it's anything to say in terms of that time frame, Villa getting relegated, 2 different ownerships, all it takes is the right manager or whatever, or the right owner, and I know you're going through a bit of an ownership change at the minute, or potential ownership change, and things can turn around and move quickly. And Everton, another massive club, another club that if you get the right people in and if you get it moving right, can actually motor. And I would want that more, more than anything for you and for Everton fans, because you've been through a lot. So that would please me a lot if you guys could get back to where you should be, really.
Well, there might be another spot after Man City get relegated next season, eh? So
Yeah,
save
yeah,
us a
who
place
knows?
in the top four,
Yeah,
boys. We're coming,
Man United might get in trouble as well. You never know. You never know.
mates. So there's two spots. Save us a place, mate. Save us a place at the table. We'll be there. We'll get our way there. Don't you worry.
Well, mate, thank you so much for your time. If anyone hasn't seen your channel or seen your socials, please give yourself a shout out, mate, because you do some
Yeah,
great stuff.
yeah, guys. Just on all the socials at Blue Boys Network, Boys with a Z, and yeah, always happy to have just a banterous chat on Twitter. So by all means, just send us a message or whatever. I'm always here. But yeah, thanks for your love as always, Rich, and good luck for the rest of the season after Saturday, pal, because we're gonna need it.
Top man, top man. Well, guys, thank you very much for watching. As I say, thanks so much to Mike. We'll be back with our live full match reaction with the match preview, sorry, with the boys tomorrow night, Friday night, and then obviously match reaction Saturday, full match reaction on Sunday night. So plenty of shows, and then Champions League football is coming to Aston Villa next week. So loads of shows to come. Make sure you hit that like button. And make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help us on the road to 5K. Get in the comments as well your thoughts on Everton, your thoughts on the game coming up on Saturday. Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we all follow the Villa.